Good evening, and yet again, good evening, darlings. You already know who it is, but I don't mind giving you a slight reminder, darling. It's your best friend, your good Judy, your next door neighbor, your niece, your cousin, your nephew, and I've recently been promoted to great auntie. I am Norman J. Liverpool IV, and I'm so excited that you are spending another marvelous Wednesday here with me on What's the LGBT, honey. So you already know we got some housekeeping stuff to do right off the get-go. So first, I want to go ahead and tell you a little bit about tonight's sponsor. You already know this is a good Judy of mine, a good friend of mine, a pillar here in the Las Vegas community, and I'm so blessed to be able to call him my friend. So Grand Delights are featured in 3 Las Vegas local restaurants. Visit www.mrgrandjeremy.com for your sweet potato pie, peach cobblers, pecan pies, banana pudding, and sweet potato pie cookies. Now, baby, let me tell you, them sweet potato pie cookies are dangerous, dangerous. He promises that all his treats are always fresh, smooth, creamy, no lumps, no strings, with a buttery crust. Again, you can reach out to Mr. Grand Jeremy for his grand delights at www.mrgrandjeremy.com and make sure you tell him that your good Judy Norman sent you over there. So I want to talk to you guys. You know, I have the 5-week signature mentorship experience. We're already into this cycle. Our next one will start on the 14th, but I just want to talk to you really briefly about the promises that I make to you by working with me. One is you're going to unleash your unicorn power. You're going to stand out and shine. You're going to own your own story, and you're going to walk in next level confidence. Another new item that we're bringing to our service offerings is hot seat coaching packages, where you can subscribe to, a retainer for a, monthly coaching package. So we just are trying to make ourselves adaptable to all of our clients' needs. So whether you want to do the 5-week mentorship experience or work with me one-on-one, we have something for you. If you are interested, you can reach me at www.overthetopliving.com, or you can email me at norman@overthetopliving.com. Really quick, I do have to put a disclaimer tonight. The views and opinions expressed by the guest of our show tonight are their own, okay? They do not necessarily reflect Over the Top Living, nor do they necessarily reflect Norman J. Liverpool IV as a brand. So we're going to your favorite. That's right. All right. So anyway, I want to share the segment that you know I love. It is called The Gag. And this is where we talk about stuff that's a little bit newsworthy. So, per the GQ magazine online, body image issues aren't unique to bi or gay men, but toxic thoughts pertaining to self worth and physical care have become dangerously prevalent within the gay community. Open an app like Grindr, and you'll be greeted with body shaming phrases so familiar and cliche that straight people would know about them too. No fats or femmes, gym fit only, I work out and you should too, etc. Over the years, we've all heard that line, you can be straight thin, but gay fat. The incessant need to achieve a good body becomes, just look around you, incredibly heightened at the top of every year, especially because of that idea about new year, new me. That pressure can trigger more than social media jealousy and hatred. Research published last year by Philip Joy and Matthew Newmer from Dalhousie University found that social demands placed upon gay men to eat healthy and achieve a perfect body are linked to anxiety and depression and have seriously mental health consequences. The National Eating Disorder Association similarly states that LGBTQ plus identified folks experience unique stressors that may contribute to the development of an eating disorder. What is one of these stressors? The inability to meet body image ideals within some LGBTQ cultural context. So I just want to throw that out there. I know that was a lot, honey, but you know me, we bring the tea and we keep it piping hot. So this week we are skipping over the artist spotlight. We'll kind of going to come back to that next week. But I wanted to make sure that we had as much time as we wanted to discuss today's topic. So we're going to bypass that for this week. If you are an LGBTQ plus artist, author, professional, that you want to be showcased, just email me at norman@overthetopliving.com. I have some openings for, I think I have one for September and 2 for October. But we're just going to move right on along because I have 5 of my good friends in the background studio who are ready to join us. So I want to go ahead and introduce my special guest. First, we have Nathan Dantes. Nathan is a 28-year-old Brazilian American living in Massachusetts and a cold practitioner and tarot reader. He is passionate about spreading love and having a healthy body image. And baby, if you follow him on Facebook, honey, he has been getting the girls together. I think maybe more so recently, I've been seeing a lot of his body positivity posts, and I love to see it. Next, we have Scotty Scott. Yes, that is his real name. Scotty is a singer and YouTube personality on What's New Vegas. Originally from Los Angeles, California. Scotty found his love of music and theater in college at UNLV and enjoys performing live. He is an advocate for the LGBT and African American rights. Currently employed by the largest gaming company in the world, Scotty enjoys interacting and entertaining visitors to the great city of Las Vegas, as well as gaining new insights, perspective, and ideas. Scotty hopes to use his voice to fight injustice and inequality in underserved communities by spreading awareness. And he has an amazing voice. So I hope you guys get to connect with him on social media also. Next, we have Todd Costello. Originally from San Diego, Todd grew up between Las Vegas and LA. His current job is a coordinator for the merchandising department at Zappos, while he goes to school part-time at CSN. Shout out to CSN, they're one of my community partners. One motto he lives by is that it's never too late for school. He states that he is far from being religious, but loves to discuss people's journey with religion. Traveling is a huge pleasure of his. It's been throughout the US, but he has plans to travel abroad once things return to normal. He was a professional dancer with a forte in hip hop dance, but he also performed swing, ballroom, jazz, and tumbling. He states dancing was a big part of my life that was a ticket into the gay community. Todd is 37 years old and currently lives in Las Vegas with his boyfriend of 2.5 years, who is also his domestic partner. Next, we have Nick Paulos. Nick is 39 years old and a Boston native, 12-year HIV positive, gender fluid, LGBT plus, and HIV and AIDS activist. He's also a drag queen, pagan, social worker, and all-around sarcastic smartass. Currently, he works at HDAP CHII, the Drug Assistance Program for people living with HIV and AIDS. And last but not least, we have Troy Huddleston. Born and raised around New Orleans, Louisiana, he currently lives in Metairie. He is a scientist and is also on the autism spectrum. Throughout his life, he was ostracized and even rejected by his peers for basically being different. Throughout elementary school and even in high school, he had no friends and wasn't invited to a single birthday party. It wasn't until college that he started making more stable friends and coming out of his shell. Not to form a pity party or anything, his painful past helped shape who he is today. But it's nice to talk about how there are toxic traits in our own community, even in adulthood. So I am going to bring my special guest onto the screen, and we're going to share some statistics with you. I feel like I'm so excited, I can't get my words out. So anyway, first we have Nathan, and we have Scotty, and we have Todd, and we have Nick, and we have Troy. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, so while you guys get settled into being on your in our studio, I just want to, we have some comments here. Yes, Chi-Town, yes, Jeremy is my favorite. Alex, thank you so much. I think you're in Pennsylvania. We definitely got the East Coast in tonight. Daniel, thank you so much for tuning in. Daniel is one of our show's alums, and so we're just really, really happy to have him tune in. Robbins Lewis, thank you so much for tuning in. And Lewis, thank you so much for tuning in. So, guys, I want to get right into this. So I want to share some statistics with you that I got off the internet. And so this was based on one particular study, and it was in volume, it was in 2017, so it's a couple years old, but it was in the Psychology of Men and Masculinity. And in this study, 45% of gay men were dissatisfied with their muscularity, 21% were neutral, and 34% said that they were satisfied. Across 5 studies, 111,000 heterosexual men and about 5,000 gay men completed surveys assessing different aspects of body image. Gay men generally reported lower body satisfaction than heterosexual men. Gay men were more likely than heterosexual men to report dissatisfaction with their physical appearance, 29%, muscle size and tone, 45%, and gay men were also more likely to agree that they've experienced objectification, surveillance, appearance-based social comparison, and pressures. Now, odd ratios show that gay men were more likely to consider cosmetic surgery, use diet pills, or have dieted to lose weight in the last year. And what was interesting about this, 7% said that they avoided sex because of body dissatisfaction. So I wanted to preface that with, I know that there's a lot of information there, but I was a little shocked when I heard those statistics. So really quick, in your own words, I would like to invite you all to kind of introduce yourself and tell the viewers a little bit about you, where you're from, and we'll go ahead and start with Nathan.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Honey Bunny. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. This is something that I'm really passionate about, especially as of late. Basically, I'm just a 28-year-old working, trying to make a living, but, you know, trying to navigate the gay community and navigate my body image and how I view myself as
I think we're having some technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
Have a healthy body image, trying to be confident in a sea full of people. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I think we're a little delayed, but I think we caught most of that. Well, we're going to keep it on moving. Thank you so much, Nathan, for being here.
Okay.
I'll give
Yeah,
you a minute
sorry.
to get your connection together. Scotty, why don't you go next?
Well, hello everyone. I'm Scotty. Originally from LA, in my bio. I am 27. I've lived here now for 8 years, and when you first reached out and I heard about this topic, it just hit home so hard, and the things that we deal with living here. And I say this is like the largest little town, so we all know each other when you live in Las Vegas and run in similar circles, and so. It just touched my heart. It was something that I feel like I've dealt with a lot. And yeah, so I'm really excited to be here with you guys.
Awesome. All right, Troy from Louisiana.
So yeah, as was said in my bio, I'm born and raised around the New Orleans area. Currently live in Metairie. I have a bachelor's in chemistry from UL Lafayette. Go Cajuns! And yeah, I like Scotty said, I definitely hopped on the I jumped on the opportunity whenever I saw this to be able to talk about these kinds of issues in our own community because as much as the gay community likes to talk about, being inclusive, gay rights and all that, I mean, we tend to be judgmental towards each other based on how we look, of all things. So this is definitely a conversation that is well overdue, in my opinion. And so thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. All right, Nick, what you got?
Okay, hi. Thank you for having me. As I said, I'm 39. I'm from Boston. I'm the oldest bitch in this group. Um, yeah, no, I was very passionate about this subject. I have, struggled with weight my entire life. I've been both chubby, fat, thin, and so this is something that I came out when I was 13 years old, 1994, if anyone wants to do the math. And that was a huge different time in the gay community. And I started going into the city when I was 16, and I was chubby, and a little off that, but it's a very passionate subject. I've been in Boston my entire life. I've seen this community change, and I've seen the good and the bad, and here that's I don't know. Anyway, that's a nutshell version, but my bio says a lot. I do a lot of advocacy work. Right now I do work at the HIV/AIDS program that helps with drug assistance program for people living with HIV to get their drug covered, and I can go more to that later.
Awesome. Well, we're so happy to have you. All right, Todd. Now, this one and we go back just a little ways.
Well, first, thank you very much for having me. Second, this is something that I find to be extremely exciting, slightly nerve-wracking, but an experience nonetheless. I do live in Las Vegas, Nevada, originally from Southern California. This was something kind of interesting. Norman just posted a little something on his page. If anyone knows me, went on a little bit of a tangent, and he asked me to be on the show. So obviously, this is something that is very striking for me. Being a dancer for as long as I was, obviously there's tons of body issues, especially when you're literally judged on a job specifically for that. But I've witnessed, I think, a lot more than what I've experienced, and even though that becomes very troublesome. So it's something that I do find to be somewhat personal to me, because I know a lot of my friends and family still have to deal with body issues. And it kind of disheartens me that our communities throughout the entire world, we can band together when times truly get rough, but when they are going well, I still feel like this body image still creates a ton of tension and conflict within it. So big thing, and I'm glad to actually be a part of this to discuss it further.
Awesome. Well, if you guys know anything about my show, my mother, Dr. Gina Franklin Liverpool, is the biggest fan of the show. And so I appreciate you being here. She says our image is important. And most importantly, it's how we view ourselves. That is so right. Thank you so much for sharing that. And so what I would like to go into is let's just talk about how this negative or toxic image illusion is what we're calling it, how that has affected you. And let's start with Nathan. I think we can start there. Like, how has just society's pressure to have the perfect body and all of that, how has that affected you personally?
It affected me big time on my self-esteem. You get yourself, especially with social media. Social media can be such a killer to your self-esteem, because you go on and you wake up in the morning and you feel really good about yourself. And then as soon as you go on Instagram, as soon as you go on Facebook, boom, there's a picture of somebody and you're automatically comparing yourself. We're living in a society where where people are so quick to just compare themselves to other people. And it's really hard not to do that. It's really hard to get out of that headspace and say, you know what, that person is not me. I'm me, and my body's valid, and my beauty is valid, and as a human being, I'm valid. But unfortunately, especially in the gay community, people who are considered average are not validated. We're not validated. People who have that sort of muscle, godlike sort of appearance, they're put on a pedestal. And unfortunately, a lot of us get stuck in that loop where we keep comparing ourselves and we keep putting ourselves like, oh, if only I looked like that. If only I was 20 pounds thinner. If only I had more muscle. If only I was a size 32 or a size 28. For me, it's just, I've been surrounding myself and I've been following people who look like me and who validate me. And that's been helping a lot, is getting away from social media and movies and music that sort of make me feel bad about myself, and surrounding myself with things that make me feel good about myself.
So I like what you said about, surrounding yourself with people that look like you. So Scotty, I want to kind of shift gears here,
Yeah.
because, for me personally, and I want to hear your experience, but for me, I felt that this whole concept of like society's perfect image, or the standards that I should be held to me, I felt like it was double compounded by being Black and gay.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I was always like competing or racing against this thing that I could never, ever live up to, no matter how many
You can't
muscles
run
I
away
had.
from it. You can't run
Right.
away
So
from it.
can you talk about that comment that Nathan said? And I thought that was so powerful, about embracing people and wanting to be around people that look like you. And so what has your journey been as a Black gay person, and as it relates to dealing with body image?
I think that when I had messaged you originally, and I had a little sidebar with you, it was about how I felt like a lot of the body image things also had to do with race, especially in smaller cities, probably. I mean, I came from LA, so it's very diverse and there are all kinds of different people, but the model of what's beautiful that's been set forth for so long, the standard beauty was like the super chiseled white man. You may have blonde hair, and it was like, I could work out every day, but I can never be that, And so you tear yourself down, and you go on dating apps and you see things like no Blacks, no Asians, no fats, no femmes, And I think all of those things come from that image of what, okay, this is the leader. This is the leader of the gay man, this white chiseled man. He's the one at the forefront. And he's the model that people have accepted, like, culturally first, before I feel other people were accepted. And so I think that has definitely created like a negative thing for me, is because it's like, even trying to date or whatever, it's like sometimes if someone was white or not Black, I felt nervous to even approach them, because you felt like they were going to come back and be like, sorry, no Blacks. Sorry, you're too chubby, you're too fat. And so I think it all ties into that image,
Now, I want to switch gears to Troy, because Troy, in your bio, you mentioned that you didn't have very many friends, and it wasn't until college that you began to kind of develop stable friends. And so, was body image, did that contribute to why you feel maybe you didn't make friends earlier on?
Absolutely. I mean, by far the biggest issue was being on the spectrum. which if you don't already know about autism, I mean, I'm high functioning, so it's not too severe for me, but basically in a nutshell, it's like I struggle with social norms, like, those little social rules that most people learn at a young age about, saying hi to people, like making eye contact, that kind of thing. And I never grasped them. Like, I have to be intentional about things, like, when you walk into a room, say good morning, greet people, that kind of thing. But another huge thing was that like Nate said, I always struggled with my weight my whole life. I remember very vividly, in fact, because when I was in sixth grade, we had to, change into our PE uniform before we go to physical education class, and so we always had to change in the bathroom. And I remember this one kid just literally out of the blue called me fat, and I was obviously, but it like shook me to the core. Basically, it was like first of all, it was the first time anybody had ever done something like that to me, and even though it's already been on my mind, just hearing it validated like that really, like I said, shook me to the core. And so it really drove my confidence like straight down. I did not like myself at all for years. And I even for a while considered going bulimic. I mean, like I even tried to rationalize it in my mind, saying, it's like if you do a math problem and you make a mistake, you erase it. So if I throw up, I'm erasing my mistake of eating something unhealthy. Thankfully, I talked to my dad about it, and he urged me, no, don't do that. He even signed me up for a health club for a while, French Riviera. But yeah, it's body issues was always like a huge issue for me as far as like being able to make friends, being able to have the confidence to talk to people, or even to approach anybody, to think that I'm worthy of anyone's respect or anyone's attention.
You got me a lot of notes. Before we move on, I do just want to point out a comment from first of all our she's Jeremy. This is Mr. Grand Jeremy, who is our sponsor tonight with Mr. Grand Delights. He says, "That's deep, Troy. Great point about erasing." Dr. Gina Franklin Liverpool, she says, or is about connecting to someone because they are attracted to that person's spirit or joy. Talking about why are we concerned with all of these things. Jeremy comes back to say, worthy. We said as a person that accepts or rejects someone's body is missing out on the real person. And so I want to switch over to Nick really quick because I think that's an interesting perspective because you work as an advocate in the gay community. You are advocating and fighting for people and doing all that. So in all of that and all that you've done as a drag queen in your work, how has body image affected the way that you relate to the community in the fact that you're serving?
It's one of those things like people, they love the work that you do, and I love the work that I do. And when I'm out there, people respect me, but when I'm out there living myself as an individual, it's like part of the reason I started drag was because I was always uncomfortable with my body, and I remember one year I was uncomfortable with my body, and it was Pride season, and I did drag just so that I didn't have to go to Pride as a boy and deal with deal with it. And I went in full on drag because if I went as a gay boy, I would be just constantly surrounded by that those images of like shirtless boys and constantly not feeling like I could ever take off my shirt at gay pride and be comfortable, or like wear low cut jeans, or like just a jock strap. Whatever you see at pride is great, but like I felt like I couldn't be that year, and so I turned to drag to cover up my boy self so that I didn't have to deal with that sort of energy. And then I got celebrated as going in drag, so that was a great experience, but like all of it was surrounded by that I didn't want to be is go to Pride as a boy, because I was just so surrounded myself by that negativity that I allowed in by image. And in the field, I do try to talk about living positively, and in all shapes and sizes. And a lot of HIV positive people, especially of older generations, have a lot of body dysmorphia due to drugs, and that's due to like side effects of drugs. And there's a lot of shame in HIV positive individuals because of lipodystrophy. And so there's a lot of context where, you know, there's a lot of body imagery work that needs to get done in the HIV community. And I try to do as much as that. I mean, I focus more on like HIV education, but there is a lot of like negative imagery around older gay guys or even just HIV positive and image and stuff like that because HIV does a number to your body. And, you know, hopefully that starts answering some of the questions.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Todd, you mentioned that as a dancer, you know, that you were a dancer, and this was not something that you just did, you know, for a hobby, like something that you pursued. You were in hip hop, ballroom, jazz, all these different types of dance. Do you think that being gay made you harsher on yourself when you're in these rooms and sitting at these tables with these other dancers?
Oh yeah, completely.
Talk,
You know,
what was that like for you?
so it was one of those situations where I didn't realize anything until I was actually involved. For example, if I had a show at a gay club and just being out and about, like listening to just people comment about certain go-go dancers, regardless of rhythm, because that can be far stretched, but I digress. They would still comment on them being too skinny, or like, can you believe he's up there with love handles, even though he had a ass that can crack a walnut? That was still not good enough. So I thought, oh my God, I perform here tomorrow night. Should I eat for the rest of the day? Or what am I going to do? And more importantly, depending on what we were wearing, especially in gay clubs, which was next to nothing,
Nothing.
I'm going to be judged the exact same thing. So a lot of times I would make sure I was on an extremely next to nothing diet, like spinach and ice cubes, for at least till the following day until my show was over and I can eat. But hearing those comments, regardless of it being too big, too thin, and they were just noticing every little imperfection. Even there was one guy, I remember in LA, he had a fantastic body, we'll say, abs, pecs, the biceps. As soon as he turned around, you could see a little bit, and I do mean a little bit of cellulite on the thighs. Boom. People immediately attacked him. And I just heard it through the crowd. And I thought, it just will never end. And it was really difficult because I would have to go to practice and rehearsal normally, but I would spend 2 to 3 hours at the gym on top of my rehearsal time doing certain things that I did love, kickboxing, boot camp, all that fun stuff. But I would hit the weights on top of everything to make sure I was not being ridiculed. And the same thing. And to boot, I was also kind of afraid that I would not get work anymore on top of it. So I felt like it kept layering over and over and over.
Wow. Wow. Now, Nate, you mentioned in your bio that you are a tarot reader. So I'm interested to know, like, you know, I feel like, and I mean, by the way, y'all, he is an amazing tarot reader. He has read my cards about 2 or 3 times and been right on point. So definitely feel to connect with him. But I'm curious to know how this affected you in, I mean, as a tarot reader, like you're giving people a message, right? Like whether that be something that's good or something that they need to, you know, an area of opportunity. But how has this particular issue played a part in how you deliver the message or how open you are to, you know, telling people, hey, this is what I do?
Well, I think the first thing is when you're a tarot reader, when you're working in any sort of spiritual medium, whether you're a medium, a psych, whatever, or whether you do Reiki, you have to keep yourself in a very positive, sort of clear mindset. And it goes back to kind of what I said earlier about trying to keep myself in a sort of headspace that keeps me positive. The last thing that I want to do when I'm delivering a message from spirit is deliver a message to somebody and I'm in a bad place and I'm full of negativity and self-hate and insecurity, because that message is going to be muddled. That energy is going muddle the message that I'm trying to give to that person. And for me, I think doing tarot has definitely done wonders for my self-confidence. I mean, I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it to show off or anything. I'm doing it to help people.
Right.
I think that when you're doing it I think that when you're doing it with the intention that when you're out there and you're helping people and you're connecting to other people, and it's funny because I'm connecting to people and I'm making connections with people who probably never would have given me the time of day, and we're connecting and we're talking to each other, and it's sort of like, hey, we're like, I'm getting to know you, you're getting to know me, and it's opened up a lot of it's opened up a lot of doors, and it's opened up a lot of room for conversations with people who I probably never would have spoken to otherwise. And it's been really cool, but I still have to keep myself in that mindset. Like, no, I have to be positive, and I'm not going in. I can't give somebody a reading if I'm feeling bad about myself. I'll take a break. I'll say, hey, God, like you've probably seen some point. I say, hey, I'm not doing readings for a little while because I'm just in a bad headspace. When I'm back to my old self, then I'll go back to doing readings for people. But for the most part, it's done a lot of good in my life, and it's brought me a lot of clarity, and it's brought a lot of other people clarity.
Thank you for sharing. So I hate to put you on the spot, Scotty, but I actually just got an email for you.
An email? Okay.
Okay, so we actually have Troy from Indiana who wants to know, why do you think race has anything to do with your body image? And you can address him directly. This is Troy from Indiana. He wants to know.
So, I mean, everybody's story is going to be different. I definitely think it can depend on where you grew up. My body image issue just came from, okay, so I grew up in Woodland Hills, California. When I was in elementary school, middle school, sometimes in my classes, I was the only Black kid. And so I had, and I had a lot of friends, and when you're really young, you don't pay attention to that. I'm Black, they're white. But slowly, you get to third grade and somebody points out that you're different, and then you get to fifth grade and someone else says something else or would say something about my weight. So I think I just got insecurities in being myself in total. I found shame in I have to admit, almost in like being Black. Like, why am I different from all of my classmates? Why do I have more, why am I thicker? And like, why am I built the way that I'm built, but, they're built this way? And so I think it wasn't until later in life where I feel like I had a more diverse group of people around me to where I started to feel like I could grow to love myself. And even as a young kid, and this is outside of even being gay, is like I've always had weight issues. And so by the time I was 16, 17, I was pushing about 350. And so right after high school, I decided, I was like, I got to get some of this weight off. Like I wanted to have a boyfriend. I wanted to have all these things that everybody else was having. And so I don't think I did it unhealthy, but I definitely would eat the same things every day because I knew that this is what was going to help me to lose weight. They were healthy things, but I was so afraid of going off track because I felt like this was the only way that I would feel accepted and the only way that I could move forward. And, and it took a lot of self-love and growing to see, to really change that, because the crazy thing is at 19, I lost the weight and got down to maybe like 225, but was in a really bad relationship and ended back up at 350. So I hadn't fixed any of the mental things that were going on with me. And so last year, I really started to try to address some of those things that I didn't like about myself and really discover who I was as a Black man, as a gay man. And to me, those are only pieces of me. I'm a singer. I love, to make people happy. We're all so complex. So we're not just gay. We're not just white. We're all, everybody's different. And so yeah, so I hope that kind of answers your question, whoever that email was from.
Okay, awesome. So Nick, I have an email for you, and this is from Christine. And she's basically, I mean, it's a long email. So essentially what she's saying is like she kind of goes along with your what happened to you about being all different types of weight, right? Like, so she wanted to know, how did you determine, or how did you get to the point to love yourself regardless of where your weight fell?
It took me until within the last couple, honestly, it took me until the last couple of years to really kind of come to terms with my body and where I'm at. And even so, like, I am currently like I just stopped doing keto for a month and I lost 20 pounds, but that's I'm 200 pounds now, and that's still like if 20 years ago, I would have been freaked out about that. Now I'm at 200 and I'm kind of like, yeah, if I lose 10 more pounds, I'll be happy, but like I'm comfortable in my skin. But it took a long time, and I was a chubby teenager. I got skinny in my early 20s. I got fat, and I went into a relationship, and I ended relationship ended with me being like 230 pounds. And I remember him saying to me that I was just unattractive and he wasn't into me anymore because I had gained too much weight. And then I spent my 20s, doing unhealthy things. I had eating disorders. I had, I'd go to the gym, I wouldn't eat. I had anorexia. I also went through bulimia where I would like eat, not eat all day and then binge eat up at night and then try to throw it all up. And it wasn't until my 30s when when I was diagnosed at 27, my doctor said you need to start like eating. You need to like get on a natural, like you need to get on an eating, like you need to eat nutritionally, you need to take care of your body. And I still struggled for a couple of years after that. You have an eating disorder for 6 years, and it still takes a long time for your body and your mind to really kind of come out of that. And it wasn't until probably like 36, 37 where I started being like, I got to get in this mind space of loving myself and taking care of myself. And I did I did therapy, and I did, some, meditation. And I surrounded, like Nate says, I surrounded myself with people finally who were good for me, and people who were, body image supportive, and like people of different sizes. I had unhealthy friendships before, and I just surrounded myself with people who had the same mind frame and like supported me for who I am as a person. And all of those things really kind of helped shape the fact that like now I'm at a place where it's like I accept me for who I am and my body shape. And yes, would I love a better body? Yeah, but I'm also comfortable in my skin now for the first time, and if I can, work on those things, then great. But it's no skinny off my thighs if someone doesn't love me.
So why do we do this? Like, why do we like I don't understand. You know how like even when we're talking about so many things that it seems like just to continually to be passed down like from one generation to the next. And what's interesting for me, and I don't know if you guys would agree, is so oh, Jaden Azario. All right, Jaden joined the show. He says he feels also living in Southern California, people were very focused on body image. I think that was in response to what you said, Scotty. But what was interesting is like when I came out, like in 2007. Now, mind you, I was 21, but it felt like the ideal body was like like super thin. And I remember even before moving here, my mom would always say, "Man, I mean that I had a 28-inch waist, honey," and I it was almost like I refused to allow myself to grow up. Like I wanted to keep that little bitty frame and that little, like having all the bones and stuff, coming out. But now it seems like we've shifted to no, we don't want that skinny thing anymore. We want this other thing. So a question for the group is why do we keep doing this? Like, why do we keep like identifying one thing and then making that it? Like any
Because we're told to.
I blame the
Because we're
Kardashians.
told.
I mean,
talk about
We're
that,
told
Nathan.
to.
What do you mean?
It's you know, people make money off of our insecurities, and
Oh, that's good.
the more that they push on reality television, I mean, like right around that time, like 2008, 2009, when Jersey Shore came out, then it was sort of like, oh no, now you got to have muscles and you got to be tan and you got to be this and you got to have the perfect hair. They feed off of their insecurities because that's how people make money. That's how the tanning industry makes money. That's how the makeup industry makes money. That's how the gyms make money. That's how diet pills make money, is feeding off of people insecurities. Well, being thin, it's not, getting people to be extra super skinny isn't working anymore. So what we have to do is we have to come up with a different type of body image. You think about hundreds of years ago when being Rubenesque and being very thick and being big, where the bigger you were, the more beautiful you were.
And the more wealthy
it's
you
just
appeared.
Yeah.
And the wealthier you were, because it means you could afford to eat. And it just goes to show you that it's all manufactured. The way that the body image, the body types that we're getting shoved into our faces, that we're getting indoctrinated with, that this is beautiful, it's all manufactured. There's a room full of people sitting and they're saying, okay, well, what are we gonna, feed? What are we gonna trick people into thinking that this is trick people into thinking this time? So it's whatever they tell us, pretty much.
Do you all agree with that?
I agree a part of it.
Yeah.
I agree too. I mean, I agree that it goes further back than social media because, I mean, I'm 39. So like when I came out at 13, we didn't have, we didn't have computers. We didn't have, when I started going to, youth groups here in Boston, Boston Glass, Bagley, the Boston's Alliance of Gay and Lesbian Youth, and I would see like the gay newspapers and stuff like that. Like, or I would go to like our gay area of Boston, you would see like club advertisements, and all the club advertisements were like, these totally muscular bodies and like these tight little shorts, and like all media, even before social media, before the internet, everything that was like, for me at least, I noticed was everything was picture perfect male models of like, if you're like, come to this club and we have, go-go boys that are perfect abs and are Adonises. And it's like, that's what clubs get you to come to the club. And it's like, and you look at that and you're like, well, I don't belong there, so why should I even go? Like, I'm not, like, like as far back as I can remember, it goes back further than social media. It's media in general. It was paper media, it was TV, it was beauty magazines. If you guys remember that song that says, "Don't read beauty magazines; they only make you feel ugly," and that was so true, and that is very true. And I mean, so I think it goes farther back than that, but it's I don't know where it stems from, but and body image has changed because, like you said, in the early 2000s, it was all about being skinny, but then all of a sudden now it's all about big ass, like it's all about the big booty, and like that wasn't a thing when I was in my 20s. It wasn't about a big ass, it was about being thin, and I tried really hard to be thin, and then now it's all about big booties, and I'm like, crap, now I gotta go get a boob job, like I can't like at first being skinny is easy, but getting a big ass is really a lot of work.
Right, I hear you. So, Lewis said it's in all forms of media: comics, video games, novels, etc. The hero is usually the hunk Adonis, and everybody pays attention to him. They're the savior of the story, but the person who is not that type is usually relegated to being comic relief or worse, the villain. Wow, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
so true.
That actually
It's
reminds me of a
huge.
post I saw on Facebook about Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, and the person who wrote it, what they said, what was scariest about Gaston is that everybody flocked to him. Everybody kind of saw him as like a leader just because he was good looking and muscular. And so when Belle refused to marry him because he just wasn't her type, Everybody thought she must be crazy. She not right in the head. They even tried to lock her father away in, an insane asylum for all that, just because, again, Gaston, because he was the pinnacle of what was considered attractive. He was considered the hero, and Belle was considered the psycho because she wasn't about that life.
You know what, Troy? I'm so happy that you brought that up because I actually just got an email for you.
Okay.
This is from Justine. And Justine has a gay son who is also on the spectrum and is struggling with body image. Justine wants to know, how did you process the issues with your body image given the fact that you're on the spectrum? So I feel like she's asking like for some tips here. Like, is there anything that you can tell her that you personally did as you were dealing with this being on the spectrum?
Yes. So to expand on what Nate said earlier about surrounding yourself with people who, well, in my case, it was people who build me up. So basically, I would say to Justine, keep encouraging him, keep telling him he is beautiful no matter what, and make sure that he surrounds himself with people who also tell him that. People who can tell him, you have nice eyes, you have, in my case, a great butt. I mean, my mom wouldn't tell me that, obviously, but like my friends would tell me that, and just tell him things that he should be proud of for himself that he could build on and develop a sort of persona on himself, something to sell himself to the world, so that he's not just focused on the negatives of himself or what he doesn't like about himself, particularly when it comes to what people see on the outside. Just like I said, surround him with people who are just going to build him up, and he'll be fine. I promise. It does get better.
Thank you. And again, I got your message, Justine. I will, if you want to connect with us at the end of the show, I'm going to put some information on how you can connect with our special guest. Thank you so much for watching. I didn't say where you were tuning in from, but I appreciate you tuning in and asking that question. And that just goes to show, like, I had made a video last week and I was a little emotional because, you never really know who's watching this stuff, right? Like I'll record it and, get my views or whatever, but you never know like who's seeing that. And last week, someone whom I've never met messaged me and said, "Oh, I've been sharing your videos with someone in my life who has a trans daughter, and it's really been, helping them as a resource." And so I'm just happy that we have a platform now because, like Nick was saying, this didn't exist back in the day. You know what I'm saying? I remember if I was the easiest way to let somebody know you were mad is to put your phone off the hook. So then, you know what I'm saying? And so we didn't have platforms like this. All right, we have another comment from Dustin that says, "I've noticed a shift in the in attraction. For a while, it was the skinny, hairless. Now it seems to have shifted to hairy and chubby dad bod. Great for his self-confidence." But it's
Right.
so. I mean, so who was that? You, Todd?
Yeah.
Like,
One of the
so,
things
I
I
mean,
wanted
does
to
that
kind of
resonate with
comment
you?
about when we were talking about like the mass media, that's always going to be, I think, number one. But the biggest part on is like who's feeding into it. We all are. So when you're looking at the club advertisements and you're doing this and you're doing that and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not this skinny twink boy, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. All of a sudden the body images and the negative reflection starts to happen. But us as a community and the people who are affiliated with the community give into those stereotypes, to those terms, and we are all guilty of even perpetuating all of that, where it's like, even dating wise is a very easy example, where it's like, oh, do you like black guys, do you like twinks, do you like bears, do you like this, do you like muscle bears, do you like, I thought, why do I have to run through this entire checklist in order to even go for it? And it's even the reverse effect, where you would even talk to people, and I've even experienced this, where there was people of interest and they're like, oh, I didn't know you were interested in bears. I thought, well, I don't have any hair because I just got done doing a show, but why is that a factor? But
You
it seems like
you're so
whatever
right.
fad's getting in, we give into that. And unfortunately, there are parts of the community that will continue to not only perpetuate it in a bad way, but it's almost creating tension, because there's even a lot of bars throughout the company or the country where it's like, well, like, what is that skinny twink doing in here in this like bare leather bar? Like, they don't deserve. And I thought,
Yes.
if they got money It should be open for everyone. And the same on the reverse effect. It's like, well, if you're weighing over 200 pounds, and then it's like, what are you doing over there at like the Twink bars? I'm thinking we are partial guilty of giving into those stereotypes and adhering to it with the apps, with the clubs, and talking about it, and even putting extra pressure on ourselves because we may not be able to fit the Twink facade, but if we're carrying extra weight, there's also people in the community that are doing more harm by eating more because they're given into more of the bear chub scene. I'm thinking we're all losing focus on the main thing, and that is our health. Regardless of what your image is, you got to go talk to your medical professional and talk to them, get the blood work done, making sure that you're right and you're good for yourself, and then worry about the rest later. These titles and these types and everything that we're given into, and that us body shaming one another, and then doing it more so with dating, or it's like, oh, I didn't expect you to do some. That's still negative, even though it's an exciting moment. It's still that negative vomit that's coming out, and you're turning a good thing into a bad thing.
And I get that because, you know, I'm one of those people that, and it wasn't like, oh, look at Michael. Michael Hughes says he stopped going some places because he felt like he didn't fit in. And I feel like for me, what's been really interesting is like, I have noticed like with some of my ex-partners, like a similarity in terms of like how they look. That was never on purpose. And what's very interesting is I get this all the time, like, oh, you know, I've noticed that, you know, your exes are all bigger guys. I did, like you were saying, I didn't know that you know, liked smaller guys, or you know, like on, if you're on Growler, they'll be like, the very first thing is, so do you like big guys? And like my thing is like, well, I was enjoying our conversation, but like I feel like it almost puts you on the spot to have to justify
Why you're here?
what you like. And I feel like that goes back to what Scotty was saying about when does a preference become prejudice at that point, like you know what I mean? So Scotty, like have you experienced something like that? I see you nodding your head.
I was saying, because I was thinking like before, and I wouldn't do that now. I'm a lot more comfortable in my skin, but I used to do that. What you said. So this is good, like, you know, kind of doing that like check when you were talking with someone on Grindr or Growler or whatever. Is like you didn't want to get ahead of yourself or think that they were trying to be anything more than friendly until you confirmed like, hey, you like a little chunk, right? I look this way, right? So yeah, I definitely agree. I'm just like, wow, that's crazy.
And I don't know for you, like, I mean, obviously, like, COVID has definitely changed, like, the way that, I mean, are people meeting and dating and, you know, like, it's definitely have changed that. But I feel like that has always been like a focus. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you're saying, is this good? And it's always, it's like seeking that validation. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I even found myself like, as you were talking about how race comes into it, like I was finding myself, have you ever dated a black guy before? Like, how would your family feel like, you know, if you were, you know, like, and it's so crazy to even feel like we have to think that way. But in light of everything that's going on, it's like I need to be sure, and as my grandma would say, better than sure.
Oh, I've had to, I mean, just doing drag, I've had to like to have, you know, I've had to ask people if they would be interested in dating someone who's drag. Now, I haven't done drag in a couple years, and I've thought about getting back into it, but just when I was doing drag, I would have to be like, "Are you interested in dating a drag queen?" And guys would be like, "Are you do drag?" Nope. I mean, granted, this was before RuPaul's Drag Race, and RuPaul's Drag Race has changed the mindset of the community, and there's been wonders for that show, and I'm not going to get into the pros and cons of RuPaul's Drag Race, but it has opened the minds of people to drag in the drag community. But before RuPaul's Drag Race, if you ever talked to a guy and you told them that you did drag, it was an instant, like, you got blocked, you know what I mean? You were canceled.
Yeah, it was either that or you were like a fetish. Because I mean, I remember when I did drag, and I see Nathan over there. And I'm gonna put it on you because you know that's my sister too. But I was like doing drag, like I did drag from 2008 to 2011 ish, 2012 when my drag mother passed away. And I just remember Like something you said, Nick, really, really spoke to me because I remember being up in the life, up in Geesh, and getting attention that I never got before.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those things that it was like, damn, like it almost makes you think like, am I supposed to be trans? Am I trans? Like what is?
Yes.
And so I went through that exactly. I would get up in a mug to go and have a drink at the bar because I felt like I was more confident as my alter ego as Zenobia. So Nathan, I mean, how does this is actually a really good topic because as it relates to body image, how as someone in the drag scene in the drag world, how does body image affect that your alter ego, your persona?
Well, because I mean, even for there's still a pressure to be like thin and to have like this perfect little like guitar, like a Coke bottle body, you know. Um, Make sure that my waist is snatched. Make sure that it's really cinched. Make sure that make sure that everything is proportioned. There's certain things like I didn't. I drag was something that I had wanted to do for many years, but I kept telling myself, no, I don't want to do it because I don't have the body for it. I don't have the body for it. I don't have the body for it. And then one day I woke up, I was like, you know what? Screw it. It's like, you want to know how you have the body for something? If you have a body. It doesn't matter what kind of body you have. If you want to wear a Speedo, if you want to have a Speedo body, just put on a Speedo. There you go. You have a Speedo body. It's that simple. It's the same thing with drag. Doing it has helped my confidence to a degree, because yeah, you're getting attention that I never would have gotten before, from different types of men, but still, it helped me tap into like a more mental confidence as opposed to like a physical confidence. To be honest, I'm pretty confident with myself and how I look and how I feel. I like myself. But as far as like my personality, drag helped my personality just kick it up a little notch. But it's still, there's always that little thing in the back of my head, like, would this person even want to be my friend if I didn't do drag? Like, there's always that little thing in the back of your head.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, listen, I was doing drag, back in the days, honey. For those of you that are in Las Vegas, honey, honey, we would tiptoe. And you would tiptoe after hours and you would, find those people that wanted, that wanted to fetishize that art. You know what I'm saying? And so I know for me for a while it was very confusing, but to wrap this up, what does it mean to be body positive? What does that mean? And I want us to when we're thinking about how we're going to answer that question, I want it to be like you're speaking to that and that young person who is struggling. And the reason being is I've been really focused on like reaching the young people because the statistics that I read last week on the show last week were alarming in terms of the amount of young people who have attempted suicide, were put into conversion therapy before they were 18, who are dealing with serious anxiety, chronic anxiety and depression as youth. So what do you say to that person that is like, damn, I want to have the confidence like Scotty. I want to have the confidence like Troy or Nate or Nick or Todd. Like, what do you say to that person? What is body positivity?
I think that it is something that we all have to work on every day. Body positivity is something that I think you have to wake up and want. You have to wake up and say, I look good. I am enough. Somebody's going to love me for me, just like this. I don't have to change for anybody. And it's easier said than done. And nobody's perfect. And some days you might wake up and look and say, oh, I look so fat today. Or and it's like Nathan was saying earlier, it's like you got to try to put those things out of your mind because you'll walk around all day, feeling bad about yourself. when all it took was to give yourself a little bit of love to get yourself through the day, to get yourself moving forward, was to, man, I have beautiful eyes, or, you know, whatever it is. Like me, sometimes I'd be like, this beard though, you know, like it makes me feel good about myself. And I think that's what it is like finding that thing about yourself that you love, and let's just hold on to that for the day, and let's move through the day, and then tomorrow we'll make a decision on how we feel, and we'll do it again.
I love that. What? Who wants to go next? What is body positivity?
So one thing that I have been thinking about lately a lot is that, and one thing I catch myself doing is thinking that if I were thinner, if I had the muscular body that I've been striving for so long, I would be happy. That is a dangerous way of thinking, because what I've learned lately is that when you are unhappy with yourself, it is not because, like, if you struggle with your weight because maybe you eat too much, you don't like to exercise. Your unhappiness is not because of your weight. It's because of something deeper, and it's manifesting itself in your weight as well. I remember years and years ago, I was in high school, I think, and there was this woman on the Oprah show who had gastric bypass surgery because she was severely overweight, and she thought losing weight would make her happy. Um, but it turns out it obviously that wasn't the case, and because she couldn't turn to food anymore because her stomach was so much smaller, she turned to drinking. And you have to find what it is about yourself. You have to explore what it is that is making you feel unhappy with yourself. You have to find your niche. Find what it is that makes you happy. Whether it be, like I said, surrounding yourself by people who can, and if, like I said, if you need help, surround yourself with people who can lift you up, who can say, you have this going for you. You have. I always try to find something positive to tell something about themselves whenever I meet them. Like, you have nice eyes, a pretty smile, you have a nice ass, or I've even told somebody I like their eyebrows. Surround yourself with people who can help build you up, and also, like I said, find something that you can build on for yourself to make you happy, and then everything else will kind of fall into place. You might not have the fitness model body that you see so many times in the advertisements, but at least you'll be healthier, and at least you'll be, like I said, happier.
I love that. Thank you, Troy. Who's next?
I'll go. I agree with both the prior statements, and I think manifesting your own, like finding what's going on with yourself is a really great thing, and like getting to that. But I also think being body positive, it does take a lot of work, but I think you also have to really be kind to yourself. I think you
Mhm.
have to really take time out to look at yourself and be happy. And lately, over COVID and during this COVID time in the last year or so, I've been spending more time doing little things for myself. Like I will, I play D&D with friends, over remotely now, and why I'm playing a female character, like why I'm playing, I just put some eyeliner and some makeup on, like and I like wearing eyeliner makeup because I still like doing drag. So like I, it's like I just do that for myself, and it makes me feel better. I just bought a nice wig for myself, but like treat yourself, and it's like do something that makes you feel better, and like it's really about nurturing yourself and taking care of yourself and loving the skin you're in and loving the body and accepting it, like learning to really like take a hard look. I went to a body image course, and I had to get almost naked in front of a mirror and just stare at myself, and that was really hard. But at the end of the day, like just be kind to yourself and really sort of just every day do something a little nice for yourself, whether it's like doing your makeup, getting your nails done, getting your hair done. I don't have, I have to go buy mine, but you know, so like, but like just do something that makes you happy for the day, and like don't let anybody take that moment away from you for that moment.
I love that. My grandmother used to say, when you get paid, buy yourself something, even if it's nothing but a tube of lipstick. She was like, because you work hard. And if you take all that money and all you're doing is paying bills and all that, she's like, if you can't get nothing else but some chapstick, get something to reward yourself for your efforts. So I think that's a great, great idea, Nick. Who's next?
I'll go.
I'd say that. Oh yeah, no, my bad.
Go ahead.
Go
Okay.
ahead, Todd.
I think
Go ahead.
my biggest thing is stop with the what ifs. It's a very, very hard thing. And I think the key thing with body positive is not so much to focus on the body, focus on the positive. So even like what we discussed, it's especially when it comes to dating and the images, it's like, what if I'm too fat? What if I'm too skinny? What if he doesn't like me? What if he doesn't want this? Or what if I get bigger? That's all got to go out the window, because no matter how much comparison it is, even to siblings, you're still not them. It's still like within you. And the only thing you could do is be the best that you can and just be happy and healthy. Stop with the what ifs, roll the dice. If you want a runner's body, how about you just be a runner and be successful? Go out and have fun. Try something new. Like, never ever set any type of limits, because once you start breaking down any type of walls, more walls will crumble. A house can't stand on 3 walls alone. So if you tear down one, it's going to be a ripple effect. And start, and I agree, get out there, do something fun, be happy, surround yourself with those good, uplifting people that share the same interests. And more importantly, that will help you fight against all of that negativity, to where it will never be even a thought in your life ever again. So it's like, just keep focusing on everything, roll the dice, take a gamble. And if they don't like you because you're too fat, you're too thin, you're too white, or whatever, then you know what? You don't need them in your life anyway. Go find the person that actually wants to hold the conversation, regardless of your skin tone, your body type. I was self-conscious with this voice, but you know what? You got to get over it. And then just keep rolling with it, because eventually you will find someone or someone's, depending on what your preference is, that's going to embrace it and continue to push you to succeed in life in general.
Well, all right. He said someone or someone's, honey. We want to make sure we include everybody.
We're going to comment in that whole LGBT plus.
Q plus IA, honey. What is your definition of body positivity?
For me, it's not being afraid to just put yourself out there. You would be surprised how much better you'll feel if you just take a risk. The other day, I wore a Speedo to the beach for the first time, and guess what? I felt fine. And
And you
you would be
look great.
surprised how many people, thank you. And you would be surprised how many people they're just there to be at the beach too. A lot of times we think that people are saying and whispering, but a lot of times people are just minding their own business, just like us. Go out. If you want to go to the beach, if you want to wear a crop top to the club and you have a belly, girl, just wear it. Just do it. The more people who have that mindset, the more things are going to change. That's how we dismantle this whole beach body culture, is everybody having that same energy that like an Andrew Christian model has. We have to have that same energy, that same mindset. Like, I look good, my body is beautiful, my body is valid, and I deserve to be here just as much as everybody else. And to me, that's really being body positive, is positively dismantling that whole sort of ridiculous body image culture that the gay community has stuck inside their heads. If we all just, if 1,000 of us wear a Speedo to the beach, then 1,000 more are going to do the same thing the next day. And then it's just going to be a snowball until eventually everybody's just going to be able to do whatever they want, and we're all going to feel good about ourselves. And we're going to invalidate, don't just validate yourself, but gas your friends up. If they're feeling a little bit down, don't beat them up for it. Just be like, hey, bitch, you look beautiful. Text your friends. text a friend of yours and say, I think you're gorgeous. I think you're beautiful. I think you're just fine just the way you are. It's not just being, body positivity isn't just about being it towards yourself. It's about being it with other people too, and uplifting other people, because that's how we all go up.
I love that. I want to challenge our viewers, and I want to just say thank you to everyone that's watching live, and also to thank you everyone that's going to watch it on the replay, either here on my Facebook on Over the Top Living Now or on YouTube. I want to challenge you to go into your phone and text 3 people exactly what Nathan just said. Text 3 people and say, "Hey, bitch, you're beautiful, bitch." You know, and so I want to challenge you to do that. I think for me in closing, I think body positivity is a culmination of what all of you guys have said. I believe it first begins here. You know, for me, I remember like for a while, I used to be like, oh, I can't wear this or I can't wear that. Now, honey, if I want to throw on some mesh, honey, I'm throwing on some mesh. If I want to put on the small shorts, because for those of you that know me, y'all know I don't wear shorts that come to my knee. I'm not about that life. So I wear short shorts. I want to do and wear what I like. Someone posted on there about skinny jeans. I will wear the skintiest of jeans because I want to. And so I think it just has it's a concept of just becoming comfortable with you and what you like. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's funny. One of my residents is at work and was like, "Ooh, your pants are 2 sizes too small." Like, I'm talking about, she really tried it. And I was like, well, they fit exactly the way I want to, honey. Okay. So I just think it starts with a mindset. It starts with knowing, Jennifer Lewis says, you know, when I wake up in the morning, I look at myself in the mirror.
Yep.
Pretty bitch.
Yep.
And that's literally like, it just gas yourself up. And I think a lot of times we have to understand that a lot of that is going to come from within us. I can't be waiting on Nathan to gas me up. I got to gas my own self up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't be waiting on these other people to gas me up because I don't have time for that. I got to go. I got to gas myself up. And so I think in my humble opinion, it definitely starts with mindset. And so, wow, guys, I just want to thank all of you for being here tonight. I'm going to put some information up on the screen. If you want to connect with Nathan, you can connect with him. Here's his Instagram, which is Nathan Dantas _. Okay. If you want to connect with him, I'm telling you, y'all, get your tarot read, get it together. We'll get you right on together, honey. If you would like to connect with Troy, you can connect to him here at this Instagram and on Snapchat at Mama Forgive Me. If you would like to connect with Scotty, okay, I didn't put names on here, so I'm like, I hope I got this right. If you want to connect with Scotty, here is his YouTube channel. And what I'll do is I'll also put all of this information in the comments following the live broadcast. And if you have any questions offline for any of my guests at any time, you can always email me at norman@overthetopliving.com. So y'all, you already know who it is. But before I give you a reminder, I do just want to thank my lovely, lovely sponsor for this evening. Again, we want to thank Mr. Grant Jeremy of Grand Delights. You can reach him at www.mrgrandjeremy. Make sure when you do that, you tell him you're good Judy. Norman Liverpool sent you. But as I was saying, friends, you already know who it is, but I don't mind giving you a slight reminder. It's your best friend, your good Judy, your next door neighbor, your niece, your cousin, your nephew. And I have recently been promoted to great auntie. I am super excited about next week's show. It is entitled Positively Me, and we're going to be sitting down with some members of the LGBTQ plus community who are also living with HIV. And we're going to delve into what their stories are and what their lives look like. So we ask that you share it. If you like the show, share it. If you hate the show, share it 10 times. And so you here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday for What's the LGBT, honey. We'll see you next week.